I'd like to call the school board meeting to order and ask the treasurer to call the roll.
President Baker?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Vice President Cole?
Here.
Ms. Gibbs?
Here.
Ms. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Peretti?
Here.
And Ms. Reyes?
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And I would like to ask our Board External Monitoring Committee member, Isaac Norman, who's a student at Columbus North International, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Isaac. So I'd like to briefly read through the agenda we have before us this evening. So after we adopt the agenda, we'll take public comment. We do have 3 speakers this evening. After that, we will hear from our superintendent, treasurer, and internal auditor on anything they have to share with us. We'll also hear from our city's director of education, Rhonda Johnson, on an exciting event she wants to invite us to. We'll then take up our consent agenda, after which we will take announcements from any board members. The board will then recess into executive session, after which we will hold a work session, a separate meeting after that. So having said that, the chair will now entertain a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you very much. Now we will take public comment. So each speaker has 4 minutes, and I'll introduce each speaker and ask each of them to approach the podium at the appropriate time. You will see on the screen a timer, so you know when to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker is Kevin Muhammad. Topics: parent school visitation, board action. I would like the board to develop a system-wide visitation policy for all Columbus City schools. Mr. Muhammad, please approach the podium. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Borick, Internal Auditor Smith, and members of the board, and Dr. Dan Good. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. I've been a proud father of this district for over years, have daughters in this district who have graduated, have done very well. My concern here, I think this is the one, right? My concern here is that as being a father and a parent, knowing that there's not a good board policy to deal with parent visitation. I know that 9150 speaks about school visitation, but it does not address the parent's concern. I have a father who likes to come by the school that my children go to unannounced, and there's been some problems with me doing that at the school that my daughters go to. And I talk with everybody knows that I'm a veteran. I've served my country proudly here. I have a veteran brother that's in a different school district. We talk. We have to be of 2 different ethnic backgrounds. He tells me the school he goes to, he does not have to sign in. He does not have to be escorted by a teacher or any staff there. But I've been told that risk that I have to do that. That concerns me because I know that the fact the school my daughters go to, there's been concerns that the fact there have been unsupervised playground presentation by staff. There's been some incidents that one of my daughters was locked in a locker and the teacher didn't know about it. So what I do as a parent, I come unannounced to make sure that they're protected. I told the superintendent, I told the teacher and the principal at the school that I have a good track record. We have a good track record of making sure our daughters and my children represent the school district very well. They're honor roll students, but I do not get there from a public school system so that my daughters can be protected, and that's where, as a father, I have to step in. And I feel that, to me, to be told that I cannot visit unannounced concerns me. I have to make an announcement, and we know that we make an announcement, we know that they're going to smooth the campaign up. They're going to make sure everything's right, and that's my concern, the fact that I do not see that the district can protect my children when there's a problem. They don't want me to come in, so that's another problem. But goes back to the school visitation. I think that school visitors does not dress parents, because we're not school visitors, we are parents. There should be a whole separate policy for this board to have for parent visitations, and that's what I want to speak about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank
Are
you.
there any clarifying questions from board members?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. With regard to your concern about not being specific enough in terms of parent visitation, what exactly is it that you are looking to see? What is your idea around ensuring that parents are, if I'm interpreting this correctly, put in a different category of visitor?
Yes, sir. Well, I think that the fact that, we as parents, it should be a whole policy when we want to come and visit our children. Like I said, there's a young man that we served in the war together. He's in a different school district, same school district, but it's a different area. And he says, well, brother, I don't have that problem. I can go to the school, sign in, and walk and see my children. No one escorts me around. I've been told recently by the school my children attend that I have to sign in and I have to wait for someone to escort me around. I never had that before. I've been in this district for 15 years. This is just being told now, but I talk with someone else at a different area of the school district. It's like, no, we don't do that. So it needs to be a universal policy. If all schools are going to do what I was told, then that needs to be for every school to do that. But we know that principals of different schools give leeway to different parents, basically if they like them or not. I really believe that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? Thank you for taking the time,
Thank you.
Mr. Mohammed. Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Wesley Fullen. Topic of discussion, improving schools, board action, BREAD, proposal about research. Mr. Fullen, good evening.
Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Barhoric, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent Good. My name is Wesley Fullen. I'm a leader of the BREAD organization. If you do not know what BREAD is, it is Building Responsibility, Equity, and Dignity. It is an organization of a little over 40 congregations in this area. BREAD leaders are here tonight to update the board on our recent efforts. Over the last several months, we've been learning about school discipline in the district. We've looked specifically at the rate in which some schools suspend students for behaving poorly. According to a 2016 UCLA study, suspension from school is not only ineffective, but is harmful to students as it increases the risk of recidivism and school dropout. In fact, it goes on to say that these suspensions across the country create additional dropouts who then earn less, have more health problems, and are more likely to get into trouble with the law. In addition to the harm it causes the students, this ends up costing taxpayers a total of $35 billion annually. The Kirwan Institute at The Ohio State University notes that in Ohio, black students are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white peers. Our research shows that this rings true here in Columbus, as black students make up 76% of the district's suspensions. Our first observation is that discipline and interventions in the district are not consistent. So depending on which building a child goes to, the discretion and the interventions taken by both administrators and the SROs, police officers in the buildings, create very different outcomes in terms of disciplinary actions. Another observation is that from the data we received from Columbus City Schools last year, there were over 46,000 students suspended for a total of over 7,000 out-of-school suspensions. 3,603 of those 4,600 suspended students were black. Suspensions are often the first stop along the school-to-prison pipeline, so we not only want to reduce the number of students sent home, but also improve the learning environments and create a space for resolution between these youth and the community. Since December, we've met with many others in the district, including Cheryl Ward, Chris Ward, Alicia Gillison, and many other professionals in the city and across the country. We've learned that trauma-informed practices, PBIS, IPASS, and other approaches to decreasing discipline incidents and responses to discipline incidents are being looked at. So at this time, we would like to thank School Board Member Michael Cole for meeting with us. He told us that this would be a unique opportunity for us to meet with the board so that we could step in and help you guys craft a solution. He also recommended that we meet with the board's Innovation and Reform Committee. As part of our research, we've been working to schedule a meeting with board member Gibbs, but at this point we've been unable to do so. We'd still like to make that happen. We met with Dr. Good this afternoon and want to thank him for agreeing to attend our Nehemiah Action, which will be on May the 1st, applaud him for working with us, and applaud him for setting up a committee to look at school suspensions. We know that now is indeed a unique opportunity to work with the district. Our research committee has put in hundreds of hours of research, and we look forward to having Dr. Good make public comments to work with us at the Nehemiah Action. There'll be over 2,500 people at our action. In late October of 2016, we sent formal invitations to all of you board members, and I'd like to take this opportunity to revisit that invitation for you to attend that on May the 1st. And thank you for this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you for taking the time to visit with us, Mr. Folan, and thank you to your colleagues who are here with you. Thank you for standing up to show us who you are. We appreciate it. Any clarifying questions from board members? Ms. Gibbs?
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all of your dedication to your work. I have not been able to meet with you, but I do thank you. The BREAD organization has submitted a recommendation via the Innovation and Reform website on restorative justice, which I've read, and have provided some recommendations on how we can address restorative justice, and that's one of the items we have taken up in Innovation and Reform. So in the future, I look forward to meeting with you, but it sounds like you have met with all the people who can make it happen. And we're also looking forward to a very in-depth discipline report that will be coming forward to the board in the next few months, where we will have up-to-date data about what we're doing, but the work around the disproportionate number of students of color, especially Black students, that are disciplined is it is a systemic challenge, it's a national challenge, and it is something I believe that this board and this administration is working to address and in fact reduce. It is a challenge from our colleagues from all over urban districts, but it doesn't have to be. So we are working diligently, and we'll take up your recommendations in Innovation and Reform, and we look forward to the work that will come between both your organization and our administration and the rest of our board colleagues who will work on it. And not only in Innovation and Reform, we also have a policy review committee, and when that reconvenes, we have a number of policies under the leadership of Dominic Peretti that we will need to address, and all of those changes live in the policy house, and then they live in the administration and implementation house. And so we're all not we're not unaware of the challenge. I think it's all before us, and we're trying to systemically and thoughtfully and critically work with everyone on how we reduce it.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us, Mr. Fuller. Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Frederick Garrett. Topic, Education of Black Children, Board Action, Educate All Children. Mr. Garrett, if you are with us, please come forward to the podium.
Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Bohoric, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Good. Correction, my topic was the miseducation of Black children. It has been about 15 years or more since I've spoken at one of these board meetings. As I look around the room, I see all new faces. The faces have changed. But one thing that has not changed is the high rates of failure of the students in this district. In the past, I have attributed these failures to a dysfunctional curriculum. And if you've studied the school report cards and the district report cards as I have, you will see that the predominantly Black schools, urban schools, have suffered much higher rates of failure than the others. Another thing is I'm concerned about the children not being able to bring home books. I've noticed this starting around, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. To me, in my opinion, a school district that will not allow children to bring home books either tells me that you don't want the children to succeed, or else you have something to hide. There was a curriculum audit many years ago that said that the main problem in this school district was one of race. I think that's probably still the case, but let's look at the some evidence of that. As I mentioned, children not being able to bring home books. I live on the east side of town, predominantly black side of town, and I observed this. A few weeks ago, I was in the Clintonville area, driving by a middle school up there, and I saw all this predominantly white area, in case you didn't know. All the children coming out of that school had books. So I'm just looking and thinking, would this district prohibit black children to bring home the books and allow the white children to bring? This sounds like something that would happen back in the 50s, but it's happening right now. And to the black or African American people that are in the room, whether you're on the board or in the administration, I think we should hear more from you on these kinds of issues. Your voices should be the loudest that we hear, because you're in a position to do something about it. I'll wrap up pretty soon here. As you drive your children off to those privileged private schools or suburban schools, and as you drive by young guys hanging out on the corner because they can't find a job because this district has failed them, think about something. That guy hanging out on the corner, he needs education too, you know? Think about that. Another thing to think about is he might be the one that ends up selling drugs because he can't find a job. He might be the one that gets your son hooked on drugs, or he might be the one to marry your daughter. Just something to think about.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions for Mr. Garrett, board members? Mr. Garrett, thank you for coming down this evening.
Thank you.
Ms. Gibbs.
Well, I don't want you to think that you can ask if the black voices in the room should be the loudest and not think that I wouldn't raise my voice. I think one of the great things about Columbus City School Board is that all 7 members here are elected at large. And so every single member here believes, and we have to uphold the mission, that each student is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community. Meaning, we don't do ward systems, and so there's not any one of us that's responsible for any group of us. So it's not just the black school board members that are responsible to make sure the black students are excelling. All 7 of us, and everyone in this room, and this entire district is committed, and we work hard every single day. And it is the 7 up here that are responsible for holding every single person accountable to make sure that each student is highly educated and that everyone achieves at the highest level possible. I don't know that our most current state scores are out, or that the news is back on where our students attend, but I also I refute the fact that overgeneralizations that all of our children are failing. That's not true. And all of our students that are in higher income neighborhoods are doing well, and lower income neighborhoods are not. I'm a graduate of Columbus City Schools, and I went to COS, and it's smack dab in Linden, 43211 solid.
Maybe you haven't seen those report cards.
No, no. I've seen them, and I agree with you, but I don't want it to.
Could you provide your question?
Yeah, I guess my question is, have you decided, well, it's a comment, first of all, because I don't want that to go forward and people not believe it, but I want to invite you and ask you to work with some of our staff to get up close data and to find out about what our policy is, because we don't have a policy that says kids can't take home books. I don't want that to go forward. People believe that certain kids can take home books and certain can't, but please work with our staff, and I'm sure they will work with you after this meeting to make sure we get you the information you want to know about how we're doing, the academic access our students have, the curriculum and the resources that's available to all students. And if you find that any of that has any discrepancy, absolutely call me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Have a good evening. Any clarifying questions from any other board members? All right. Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for this evening. So now we're going to move on to executive reports, but before we do, I would like to call on the city's Director of Education, Rhonda Johnson.
Thank you, President. President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board, thank you so much for allowing me to tell you about the spring break activities that the city and the school district and our external partners are collaboratively planning to make sure that we have a safe spring break and that all our kids have safe places to go and things to do during break. We're going to begin by kicking off this event, the Safe Spring Break, with a press event on Monday, April the 10th at 3:15 at West High School. But we're also going to have a roundtable with some students from West High School that will probably begin at about 2:45. So I want to invite board members, if you can come at the 2:45 time, just to hear what our young people have to say. We would most certainly appreciate that. And any in the listening audience who want to come to that event, we hope that you will do that. We've been working closely with Chief Academic Officer Alicia Gillison, with the superintendent, with Chief of Staff Maria Stockert, and many external partners, including the Columbus Museum of Art, the Columbus Metropolitan Library, Franklin Park Conservatory, Boys and Girls Club, Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, YMCA, and even CODA. And CODA will be offering discount passes to our youth to be able to get to these events. There are 4 recreation centers that will have extended hours during spring break, those being Beatty Park, Douglas, Glenwood, and Linden Park Recreation Center will have extended hours. So there will be many things going on during spring break. And to make it easy for parents and students to find out what's happening on spring break, they will be able to go to one website. It's columbus.gov/schoolsout. And we will list all of the activities. All of our partners will list the activities that they have available, and you will be able to click on those events as well as those that are offered by the Columbus Recreation and Parks. So we want to make sure that all of our young people have something to do. There are some places that are even serving meals during this time, but you just go to the website and click on a place you'd like to go and see what is being offered.
Thank you very much, Director Johnson. Are there any questions from board members on safe spring break? Yes, Board Member Hudson.
I just want to say thank you. It's fantastic opportunities and great collaborative effort. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, just again, thank you so very much for this opportunity. Again, it's just another unique way for us to not only look at activities for young people, but look at the issue of safety and how we create that type of environment for our children and their families. So thank you.
Board Member Gibbs?
Yes. One more time, can you repeat the names of the rec centers that will have extended hours?
The rec centers that have extended hours are Beatty Park, Douglas, Glenwood, and Linden Park. And we can find all of that information at columbus.gov/schoolsout.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Johnson. We appreciate the partnership with the City of Columbus. And let's then move on and hear from our superintendent. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board. As Ohio's largest school district, we are often asked to, and we often do, take the lead on many education matters across our state. I believe it's our leadership, as shown by the board, by our students, by our community partners, and by the daily efforts of our dedicated teachers and staff that has really helped define our spirit of success in the Buckeye State. So tonight I want to update the board on several matters requiring our leadership. First, our urban district partners in the Ohio 8 are closely watching activities in the state legislature where there could soon be some changing demands on our students. Last week, as many of you know, members of the Ohio 8 came together for a quarterly meeting which included a very informative session with Senate Education Chair Peggy Lehner. Senator Lehner talked about the proposed changes to the new graduation requirements that are just now going into effect for our current junior class. Those are the same graduation requirements that this board was briefed on at the last meeting. As you'll recall, several of you raised concerns about the transition. Were we suddenly asking too much of our incoming seniors or not enough? And should we be doing it all at one time? Well, your concerns were shared, and there are several draft proposals now floating about that would allow students to earn a diploma by meeting other requirements outside an end-of-course series of exams to reach the requisite 18 points. It might include work study or community service, which we require, college credit plus coursework, high attendance, or an appropriate grade point average on senior level classes. This all is important. As I've shared with you individually, the estimates from ODE show that only a portion of our juniors would meet or are likely to meet the requirements based on the initial 18-point pathway. Of course, we know that career tech and ACT data are not in yet for this year, and there are some other factors that could impact this number over the next year. But the proposals do move in the right direction, recognizing a more holistic approach in measuring student achievement and their potential for success in a career or in college or in the military. At the same time, it works to balance the concern raised by this board about not wanting to reduce the rigor or reduce academic standards simply to make certain graduation rates don't drop. Proposals are still many steps from being finalized, which is why our leading voice continues to be important. Also shared by Senator Lehner, insight on Senate Bill 82, which would require schools to place a telephone call within 1 hour of the start of the day to a parent whose child is absent without a legitimate excuse. This bill is the latest example of finding a solution to a perceived problem without thinking about the costs associated with it. So just think about it. If 5% of our student body would be out one morning, that's more than 2,500 phone calls that would need to be made within an hour, which essentially could bring our school attendance offices to a halt. Fortunately, our district has been and is a leader in using auto dial and push notifications to report absences. Only one other of our Ohio 8 counterparts has those same technologies. So we will be working with the senators to craft language that allows for this technology to be used. That is, if the bill continues to gain traction, and we anticipate that it will. There are many other pieces of legislation on our radar, one that would require students to take a class on financial literacy, one that would require teachers to teach cursive handwriting, and one to require districts to allow outside groups to come into the schools to recruit career tech students, to name just 3 potential bills. It's these types of bills that truly demand our leadership, and I want to state that we are very fortunate to have experts such as Dr. Eric Rausch and Dr. Michelle Klein keeping our urban voices heard. Also at that Ohio 8 meeting, I met with State Superintendent Paula DeMaria and recently pushed on conversations around ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. He is committed to a more inclusive and iterative process as we put together Ohio's plan and response to the Federal Department of Education. That is a victory for us. He's also very sensitive to testing requirements, and he recognizes that statutory requirements at the state level, which are not mandated by the federal, need to be re-examined. In fact, I learned earlier today that we have Dr. Colleen Boyle that will be serving on that assessment committee for Paula DeMaria. So that's good news as well. Our team commits to keeping this board updated on all of these moving pieces at the legislative level. So now I'd like to move on to leadership we've shown in addressing the long-deferred maintenance needs of our legacy buildings. So far, more than a dozen major repair and reconstruction projects have been launched as part of a $125 million Operation Fix-It. Tonight, I ask you to approve 2 more contracts, one for the much-needed roof repairs at Beechcroft High, and the other for renovation of heating and ventilation at Hamilton STEM Academy. Our building teams have really taken a leadership role in these projects. First, they've provided the public a tool to help hold us accountable with a special section of our district website devoted to tracking every repair we promised and every project that's completed. Second, they're really thinking outside the box, searching out new yet also cost-effective technologies that are allowing us to deliver even more than was promised without exceeding the cost. Instead of just modernizing heating and ventilation, we will actually be able to add air conditioning to a handful of the buildings listed for repair, and that includes the Hamilton STEM Academy project, which is on your agenda tonight. I've asked our communications team to look at ways to show this additional value added to our Operation Fix-It initiative so that our entire community can see this type of leadership in action. So quickly, let me touch on an example of students and staff and community partners taking a leading role. This morning, PNC Bank announced a major investment in our learning efforts. Very, very exciting. Part of a $5 million partnership with the online charity DonorsChoose.org. Teachers across the country, and some here in our district, have gone to that website to ask donors to fund materials and experiences they need most for their classrooms. Well, today, PNC flash funded every Donors Choose project that is uploaded by pre-K teachers in Columbus City School District. and in 22 other states. This will provide teachers with enhanced classroom resources and experiences to inspire their students' love of learning. And the PNC Foundation will provide its employees here in Columbus with $50 electronic gift cards, encouraging employees to go online and select classroom projects to fund. We truly appreciate PNC's leadership in supporting these high-quality early learning experiences. Last Sunday, the Columbus Museum of Art celebrated its Columbus City Schools Day, opening its doors for free to all of our students and families. We got the count just a moment ago. It was nearly 6,000 people. And having shaken almost every hand that came in, I can attest that's true. At the same time, the day was a showcase of the leading artistic talents of our students with a full spectrum of work on display, from visual art to music and theater. There was a very talented opera singer singing in Italian, all the way to a rock group covering Santana. We went from Bruno Mars to Bach. I want to applaud our Unified Arts team, especially Betty Hill and Ross Shirley, for bringing together such great examples of student talent, which I'm hoping may serve as the basis for a separate annual student showcase in the future. Next, more than 60 of our students received scholarships, laptop computers, training opportunities, and a very powerful send-off to college as part of the Greater Columbus Community Helping Hands celebration this past Saturday evening. The organization honored the district and this board for its leadership in serving our community and creating more pathways to prosperity for our young people. And finally, our partners at AEP Ohio truly stepped up this week to provide students at Champion Middle School with the power to achieve, donating $10,000 to purchase new Chromebooks at the school. Principal Stephanie Bland has built a wonderful relationship with several of our community's corporate leaders, and we appreciate her leadership and also the generosity of our private sector partners. So finally, let me transition to our leadership efforts for the summer. When most other districts close up shop, we instead are helping a greater number of students stay on pace and even get ahead of their studies. I invite Marcy Drafts, our Executive Director of Innovation and Improvement, to come to the podium to share how summer school is truly making a difference for many more of our students, with increased enrollment, increased promotion rates on third grade reading, boosted graduation numbers, and measurable growth from the beginning of year to the end of the year assessments. Ms. Drafts.
Thank you. Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Dr. Good, our treasurer, Mr. Bohorek, and our internal auditor, Smith. I have an opportunity to present to you and our community a preview of our 2017 summer school program. Many in the community ask, is there still a need for summer school? And I say that there is still a need, especially as we look at the 21st century education. Our students have an opportunity to have a diverse academic experience. Our parents have an opportunity for our students to either receive intervention during the summers, or our parents can also then allow their students to have enrichment. We also look at the need as narrowing the gap, the learning gap that can occur between June and August. We allow our high school students to earn advanced coursework. For our parents and our students, we provide a safe, supervised, structured environment. We also provide free lunch and breakfast for our students, recreation for our elementary school students as we partner with our Boys and Girls Club, and also we provide an opportunity for our students to take the state assessments in the summer. Next, the primary focus of summer school. Before I move to the focus, I want to say that our summer school program is a collaborative effort, and I want to acknowledge Danny Graves, who's behind the scenes and is an executive director at Columbus City Schools, who works very hard and diligently with us. Also, too, we wouldn't have the summer school that we have without the Office of Teaching and Learning. Every year, they come to the table and provide us with innovative, engaging curriculum for our summer school. So I wanted to acknowledge them. And also, too, when we are planning for our curriculum, we are very intentional about how we can accommodate our special ed students and our ESL students as well. So we're intentional about who we hire so that we have certificated teachers that can accommodate their needs. So in terms of our focus for elementary, we focus on reading, writing, and mathematics. For middle school, we focus on reading and mathematics as well, but also, too, we integrate science as a part of that, and the students have a design challenge every year. We work with the City of Columbus Division of Refuge Collection and Keeping Columbus Beautiful. Like, for example, last year, they had a challenge of solving the litter problem in Columbus alleys. And also, too, we have at the high school level, then our students have an opportunity to focus on all 4 core subject areas, English, math, science, and social studies. And they have an opportunity to select what delivery they choose. They can then take classes with the traditional instructional model delivery, or they can also take courses online, our VCAP, Virtual Credit Advancement Program, with the assistance of teachers. And also students can select with their parents to apply for the Credit Flex. And this Credit Flex opportunity gives them an opportunity to really narrow down and focus on their learning styles, and we give them some options in terms of either they take an exam or they can demonstrate in some way their knowledge of the course. Also, too, just wanted to reference is that for the last time, we will have our Ohio Graduation Test Institute as we phase OGT out, and we will move to our AIR Assessment Institute. In terms of measuring our summer school success, well, we have several ways in which we can measure our success. We focus on the enrollment and attendance, and last year we had over 3,800 students, which is actually 300 more students than we had the previous year. We also have an opportunity, our summer school, to help to promote our 3rd grade reading guarantee promotional rate. We increased by 3.84%. Also, too, it gives us an opportunity to improve our graduation rate. We had an additional 106 students who graduated. Also, too, we individualize this for our students because of the assessments that we have. Then we're able to individually measure the students' growth from the end of the year and to the beginning of the year, given the assessments that we now use. And we also then provide an opportunity to measure then our matriculation rates. And past year, our 1,200 earned credits for our high school students. Our summer school participants. Any current Columbus City School elementary, middle, or high school student is eligible to participate in our summer school. We also have out-of-district students from the suburbs or our charter schools. Our summer schools, we proudly have our certificated and classified staff that man our summer schools, and our summer schools wouldn't be the same without our community partners. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that some of our partners, Boys and Girls Club, the Ballet Met Arts Program, Recreation and Parks, Keep America Beautiful, Coastside, Columbus Metropolitan Library, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Nationwide Children's Hospital, and the list continues to grow. This was what makes our summer school program in Columbus City Schools so very unique. Summer school dates. So summer school officially begins on Monday, June the 19th. For our elementary and middle schools, we run a 5-week program, Monday through Thursday, and both of those levels will end on July the 20th. For our elementary school students, we do provide them with some options. Parents have options of they can choose a half a day of instruction, they can choose a full day, a half a day of instruction, and another half of recreation, or they can choose a full day of intense instruction. So we offer our elementary parents and families 3 different options. The times for our elementary schools are from 8 to 1, and then the full day is from 8 to 3 p.m. For our middle schools, their time is 8 to 1. And for our high schools, we run a 6-week program, Monday through Friday. And as mentioned, they have an opportunity to take traditional instructional classes or online VCAP classes, and they end on July the 28th. Our traditional classes run from 8 to 12:30, and then we have blocks of online VCAP classes, 2-hour blocks of time. On to district-sponsored locations. We have this year 20 district-sponsored locations. And I must say, when we plan the schools that we are going to offer summer school, we look at every quadrant to make sure we're covering every quadrant of the city, and as well as the center city. And also, too, we do keep in mind, since it's summer, that they are air-conditioned as well. So as you can see, we have 8 elementary schools that we're going to be offering summer school. We have 6 middle schools and 6 high schools. For our building-sponsored locations, and you may be asking, what's a building-sponsored location? Well, these are schools that have school improvement grants or Title I funds that they have budgeted for, and they can hold their own exclusive summer school program for their students. And so to this time around, we have 19 schools that will be funding, operating their own summer schools, 11 elementary schools, we have 5 middle schools, and we have 3 high schools that will be operating their own summer schools for their students. As a part of our summer school program, we continue to offer free transportation for our Columbus City Schools elementary and middle schools. And we also offer then for our high school students, they receive COTA passes. And also, as we have in the past, we collaborate with the Columbus Recreation and Parks and provide breakfast and lunch. Our fee structure and registration. For Columbus City Schools elementary and middle school students, the cost is free, and also for our potential summer school graduates, it's also free. For our high school students, as mentioned, there is a fee. It also incorporates the COTA pass as well, and it's incentive. And they also are able to earn 2 courses. Now, we also then keep in mind that there are some families that may have some financial hardships. So we do offer then vouchers for each of our high schools. In fact, each year we continue to increase the number of vouchers that each high school has, and we're going to increase those to 20 this year. So we try to make sure we're covering all of our students in terms of their needs, in terms of participating in summer school. For non-Columbus City School residents, there is a fee, as you can see. Our registration, we are piloting this year something new, an online registration. Now, we will continue to have the packets this year, but we are trying at every level, elementary, middle, and high school, to go online. And we will have typically the high school registration was in person, so we will have one day that we have that's in person, and also to that will accommodate then for our out-of-district or suburban or charter school students. What's new? So what's new? We have several things that are new that I'm going to talk more about, but we have new additional locations. We have new academic programming where there are new opportunities for enrichment, and this year our potential graduates, seniors, have an opportunity to go another pathway to use for the first time this summer, the new graduation pathway, industry credentialing. Led by Career Tech and Peggy Cleary, they will have an opportunity this summer. We're going to select, and starting out, 2 pathways, construction and nursing. So those will be additional opportunities for our students to earn their diploma. Our additional locations, there are 3. Northgate, our newly opened Columbus Afrocentric Early College building, and also the Berwick building. For our new academic programming for elementary, as mentioned, we work very closely with our Office of Teaching and Learning, and so our director, Leslie Kelly, who leads the elementary curriculum department area, and her team have come up with some new programming for our elementary school. We're going to take Wyland Park, and that's going to be a full day, and it's going to be exclusively for our 3rd grade students. We're going to really focus in on encouraging, having some really engaging, some different types of of, and having some really special teachers who are at Wyland Park to help our third graders then move and be promoted into fourth grade. And this is, as Leslie tells me, in the morning they'll have word study, writing workshops, guided reading, and they actually will have two. Think about this, daily computer time, because we need to focus on those typing skills because it isn't online, even for third grade. And also we're focusing on the ELA standards. In the afternoon, after lunch, the third graders are gonna work on #CCS Reads Literacy Camp. And so this is gonna be modeled after a summer school camp. So it's gonna be an integration of reading and writing activities and a lot of fun. So we are really charged with our Wyland Park initiative this year. And you see Avalon and Northgate, based upon the popular demand of enrollment in the North Quadrant area. So that we are going to, for Avalon, we have broken up the grade levels, kindergarten to second grade, and then for our Northgate, we're going to take the third grade through the fifth grade for our students. And new academic programming for middle and high school. And as I said, we work with the Office of Teaching and Learning, and this time our director, Cherie Wells, and her team have come up with some very creative initiatives to engage our students. Our first one is Amplified Science. And so as I mentioned to you with the middle school, they are focusing on science, but we're looking at some curriculum that's going to inspire our students to read, write, and argue like a scientist. And also to do some hands-on lab experiences to sharpen their the skills in science. We're also then for our senior potential graduates, so we're going to be offering some unified arts courses as well and some technology courses exclusively for them. And as I mentioned, we're going to be preparing our students to take the AIR assessment. So we are looking at, Cherie and her team are looking at Think Cerca, and that is a web-based strategic thinking close reading strategy tool, and it's going to help our students improve their performance on the AIR assessment. And finally, Environmental Science Research Credit Flex. And so that will be an opportunity. We're going to be using our Spruce Run facility. Our students will be using that facility, and they can create their own model of what they choose to do some scientific research on, and they will be earning advanced science credits. And as I mentioned, there are new opportunities for enrichment. First grade Spruce Run Adventures. This is going to be something new. Our new students going into first grade, or our newly promoted kindergartners, are going to have, if they participate in summer school, they're going to have 1 full week of going to Spruce Run. And we're using a new curriculum called Growing Up Wild. And so the students will have a sense of wonder and about nature, and invites them to explore wildlife. So we are getting our kindergartners going into first grade acclimated to science. And so each of them will go through 1 full week at Spruce Run using our curriculum Growing Up Wild. And also too for our freshmen to get our freshmen more motivated and engaged. Our director, Cherie Wells, we're going to be providing some social emotional support, skill building, career exploration. So we're going to really focus in on charging up our freshmen and giving them the hands-on career exploration and learning trips and things like that to really promote and engage our freshmen. And finally, so you heard a lot of great things about our 2017 summer school program. And so if you're wondering, I need to have more information. Well, here it is. Our summer school office the number is 614-365-5010. You can contact us, or you can visit our district website at ccsoh.us/summer school. Or if you have the mobile app, and if you don't have the mobile app, you need to get the mobile app so that you can then also access our summer school program through our mobile app. And that is my summer school preview for our board and our community. Any questions?
Thank you very much for that presentation. Board members, are there any questions? Mr. Peretti?
Thank you very much. You know, I can still remember when Mr. Cole used to sit as external monitoring in these presentations year after year after year. They get better and better and better. I just want to say thank you to the staff and everyone that really makes this quite the experience. My question is, you know, it's nice for our students who want to get ahead. What sort of strategies are we employing for our students that are struggling with the third grade reading guarantee and graduation? Are we targeting them specifically, adding extra layers of communication? Are we going to their doors and knocking on the doors and talking to their families? What sort of strategies are we employing?
President Baker and Board Member Peretti, yes, I'm glad that you asked. So first, to reinforce is that the White Park Initiative, where we are going to exclusively have the best of best teachers that are going to focus in on our third graders. And before that, we're initiating Mission Impossible. And so that's where our academic service team are going to, working with our principals, are going to go out. We've been assigned certain schools, and so those students who don't apply online to participate in summer school, we're going to make sure that we capture those students and gather them and bring them in to participate in our Wyland Park initiative, or also all of the schools, all the elementary schools will be focusing in on third grade as well. So we are planning then to make sure that no one falls through the cracks, no third grader falls through the cracks.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Brown?
Yes, just wanted to ask, how do we integrate and work with our students who are on IEPs, disabled in some fashion?
Right. So we are using the inclusion model. And so then you have the regular education, special education students that are learning in the same classroom. And so we also then also hire our teachers that have the certification in special education. So they are also there to make sure that we are meeting the accommodations of their IEP.
Other questions from board members? Ms. Gibbs?
I was trying to yield in case someone asked some questions. Thank you very much for that presentation. Just have a few questions for you around some of our ideas for summer school. And thank you. I do believe, as my board member does, that this presentation and our offerings are getting better. But just a few questions around, parents always ask, how do we decide where the summer school sites go? What type of data and research goes into where they at? People say they're not close to me, or how do we make the decisions where they're offered in terms of location?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we try to make sure that we are offering schools locations that represent each 4 of the quadrants, and also looking at the center city as well. That's the first thing. Second thing we look at in terms of which buildings have air conditioning, so that's important as well. Third, there are some schools that have their own individual intervention programs, so there are certain schools that are off limit because they're having their own summer school. So when we do that, and also as we know, as we are doing the renovations of some of our buildings, so that there's like a list of things that we go through in terms of determining which buildings can be used and which ones don't. And also too, we do keep track of the enrollment. So at the end of the year, we look at the enrollment of the schools, the demand, and those are types of data that goes into then making the decision to select what schools we use.
Thank you. And another question is around high school, and to the point of advancement. It says traditional delivery, but can you speak to, if you want to take a class, I'm a 9th grader, but I want to take 10th grade math. Are students available to do that? Are you available to take advanced work? And how would a parent sign up for that?
Yes. So students are able to take advanced coursework. So that is, they have the options when they register, and they can select that. As long as they've passed the fundamental, the prerequisite course, then they're able to take advanced coursework.
If I'm a 9th grader, just so I can help parents, if I'm a 9th grader and I've passed all my 9th grade courses, I can begin to take 10th grade courses in summer school.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then when I go back in school, they'll all those credits will count towards my high school curriculum.
And I want to add too is that our school counselors as well work with our students. So it's not just the students and the parents. Before the end of the year, our counselors work with our students and provide, just as we're talking, to provide them with all the options. So they are aware as well. Counselors tell them about advanced coursework, making up courses. So when they're talking, and the counselors also work with parents as well. So there's another layer of support that we provide.
To that point, is there a particular set of parameters that would trigger a counselor to offer that to a student? I know that if you have students who are missing credits, you're going to speak to those students. But what about those students that aren't, but may not be considering? So how do counselors approach summer school for all students, high achieving, low achieving, and those in the middle?
Well, one of the ways is as high schools begin to schedule for classes, then counselors sit down with each of the students. They go through their graduation planner, and they're having those kind of conversations. So as they're planning for the next school year, they're also then providing them with options in terms of how they can receive intervention or enrichment as well. So that is every student then works with a counselor in terms of planning for the next year, and they also then talk about possible summer school options.
Okay. And in the high school option, we're offering traditional delivery, VCAP, and credit flex.
Yes.
Specifically on VCAP, do we have data or research that talks about, or we can track the rigor in that summer offering as opposed to when we offer it again, or the whole overall program? Okay. How are we deciding to keep VCAP in the summer school mix?
Okay. So that is a little bit out of my area. I know our curriculum department, and I know also too our office continues to reevaluate our VCAP, the program, to make sure that it's updated. Dr. Klein, to the rescue.
Thank you, Mrs. Drafts. I appreciate that. Just to address your question with regard to VCAP, we actually go through a course curriculum audit every year. We're actually doing this Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock at Kingswood Data Center. We're doing math, so if you want to come, I would love to have you. But we actually take the courses and tear them apart and make sure they are as rigorous as our classroom content. And we don't do this from an administrative viewpoint. We do this from a teacher viewpoint. So we have 7 teachers that will be there this Saturday morning with me, and trust me, they will go through every single substrand and make sure that the rigor is there. So we're actually really excited because math is my favorite content because math means money.
Thank you, Dr. Klein.
Thank you for that. President Baker, I just have
yes, ma'am.
Just one more question around that. Good to know. Around the idea of transportation, just explain to us, why did we decide to give high school students CODA bus passes this year as opposed to putting them on traditional bus?
To my knowledge, we've never had high school students that we use for Columbus City School transportation. They've always had CODA passes. Yes.
They've always had bus passes.
Yes.
Okay, they ride buses, school buses during the year, but we're going to do bus passes in the summer. Okay, just in case people are confused about that. Okay. And finally, to the idea of, I love online. I love doing things online, but to that big group of people that do not or will not access it online. Yes. As Board Member Paredes said, how are we going there? How are we going into those heavily dense communities that traditionally don't participate and may or may not come to preschool, actually? I had a call from a parent today on the west side in the Wedgwood feeder pattern who wants to get more students involved in pre-K. So how are we getting those communities and those kids who may not access it online or who may not have ever done any of our summer school?
Well, since this is our first time and we're doing this pilot, that we're still going to offer the traditional packet. So for those that maybe not have the technology or availability, access to a computer, they still will be able to use the traditional packet that we've had for several years.
And is it translated in all languages?
Yes, it is. Yes,
So
we
that
provide the, yes.
Okay. English, Spanish, Somali, Nepali?
Yes, yes.
And-
We have interpreters
and
that do
French.
that, yes. As I lead the ESL department, I can confidently say that we do have that service.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions from board members for Director Drafts? Thank you very much. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you.
Well, that's really the end of my report. I'm really proud of how far the summer school program has come, and I know it's been you and so many others too that have contributed, but I'm very excited about some of the new offerings. And I do know, to Ms. Gibbs' point, that some of our high schools, actually if a student fails a course, they're automatically mailed a summer school application. So they're very aggressive in terms of making certain families know the options that are available. But I think it's an extraordinary program we're offering this summer. Thank you, Mr. Alves, for your work.
Thank you, Dr. Good.
Did you have a question?
I do.
Board Member Hudson?
I have a question on that. On our new app, like the teacher notices, does the summer school notice go on the app too? Sorry, Marcy. I didn't mean to. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I just wondered if there's any notice that goes to parents via our new app.
Just the traditional methods that we use to market that we have the app.
So we don't do a push notification, I don't believe. Scott, do we do a push notification on this, or can we?
Yes, thank you, board members. President Baker, to the question, yes, so information about summer school will be pushed out through the app, as well as through all of our other features, including the auto dial system and online. So we'll be able to do that. Plus, as you know, we're also looking to integrate the app with our student information system so parents can sign up and get alerts about grades and attendance. And so we'll be looking at how that integrates and uses the existing app that we have with Infinite Campus to push out that information as well.
Board Member Gibbs?
Yeah. To that point, we have a program, Global Academy, and that's a high concentration on the north side. How are those students coming to summer school, and were they considered as a site, or could they have a site there? Can you tell me about, they would get the same information as everyone else, but?
Yes, yes. So as I mentioned, the counselors that are at Columbus Global Academy, they will be working with their students as well. So those who need to have to apply to summer school, they get that assistance at Columbus Global Academy. Columbus Global Academy, we do offer a special OGT institute, and so we work with our ESL population, specifically, specially. We don't have any other program at the Columbus Global Academy, but we do have the support at Columbus Global Academy that we are certain that the students have what they need to, if they need to attend, if they need to take credit, then they're getting that information.
Right, because the schools that have decided to do it on their own have special funding. And is that based on Title I?
Yes.
Or SIG dollars?
Yes.
It's based on SIG.
Federal dollars, yeah.
Federal
Yes,
dollars.
yes.
But do our programs have those same dollars because they're not a school?
No, they don't have those.
Right, because their programs, our other program is Columbus Gifted.
Yes.
It's a program.
Yes.
Not a school, so they wouldn't have
Correct.
the same SIG dollars that
Right.
a traditional school would have.
You're correct.
So, one last question, indulge me. Is it up to the principals to decide if they want to have a program at their school? Is that a team-based decision, or is that a decision we make at administration?
It typically is a team-based decision because you have a team that you'll need to operate the summer school. So typically they're building leadership team, and also it's a team too because you need to have the staffing. The staff have to also want to participate. So it's definitely a team decision as to whether the building will offer their special intervention program.
Thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you.
You sure?
I think you're really done this time. Thank you.
So just one thing that wasn't on my comments to make, but I wanted to recognize there was the Council of World Affairs had their Global Scholars Diploma recognitions this morning, and one of our board monitor today, Isaac Norman, received a cord. So congratulations, Isaac, for being one of the inaugural Global Scholar Diploma recipients. So it's kind of the first of our many completer ceremonies that will occur. And just to remind everyone, we have 22 high schools that will have formal graduation ceremonies. We have 5 career programs that will have completer ceremonies, which is the equivalent of their graduation ceremonies. And then we have 7 transition programs. So these are students that have finished their academic requirements, have an IEP that also allows for vocational requirements to be completed, and they're finishing their vocational requirements. So we receive lots of invitations this time of year, but it began today. So congratulations, Isaac, for being one of the first out of the chute there. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I also do want to say that the discipline report that was scheduled for tonight's meeting will likely appear at our first meeting in May. So be prepared for that. It should be quite good. Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Vice President?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. Thank you. I had a question going back to the Project Fix-It piece. Is there a upcoming priority list that we can expect to see, or something relevant to that that'll give us an idea of what upcoming projects will be happening?
So I'll defer to our Chief Operating Officer, Maurice Oldham.
President Baker, Vice President Cole. The list we're working off of currently is the document that we put out for the community. We're looking at those projects and constantly evaluating those projects. The challenge, we can provide some projects as they coming up. The challenge is as we look at doing the assessments, you know, one of the legislation we brought forward was assessment of the roofs. And as we look at those assessments, that gauges on where they fall in line to our project. So we're really still in the early stages, but we know what projects we're looking to do, but for as the order, we can get that information to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Board Member Hudson, did I see your hand up?
Yes, I had just a couple questions for the superintendent from your report, just on the legislation that's on tonight. I just wondered if you could speak to, there are 3 items with property sales will bring in about $2.3 million, if I read that right. And I just wondered if you would, on the consent agenda, so I just wondered if you could speak to those items and what happens to those funds.
I can do that. Did you want to do that now or in the context of the consent agenda?
We can do that now, or we can wait until we move the consent agenda.
I'll wait till then.
Very good. Thank you.
You know one of the questions. There you go.
It gives him time to get ready. All right. If there's nothing else for the superintendent right now, Mr. Treasurer, have you a report for the board this evening?
I have no report for the board this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Round of applause.
Yes.
A great sigh of relief. I know.
Madam Internal Auditor, have you any report for the board this evening?
No, I do not, President Baker.
Thank you very much.
Ooh, props to this side of the room.
All right, let's now entertain a motion that we adopt our consent agenda as it has been presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
I missed that entirely. I'm sorry. I did. Mr. Peretti and Mr. Cole seconded?
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, are there any questions on any piece of legislation contained within the consent agenda this evening? Board Member Hudson, I think you have a question.
I do.
President Baker, in response to Board Member Hudson's, I'll ask Anna Lanzati to come forward and talk about the sale of the buildings, and then Maurice and Alex, if you want to speak to the use of the sale of properties funds.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Board Member Hudson, did you have a certain question you wanted to ask, or general information?
I wonder if you want just confirmation. It appears we have 3 sales, and then those funds should be unencumbered. I would think. Do they go in, and where do those what happens next?
Great, okay. So this evening, we do have 3 pieces of legislation asking you for approval on 3 sales contracts for buildings which were previously declared as surplus. Those 3 properties are Clarefield Elementary School, which actually was declared as surplus several years ago and has been vacant for a number of years, so we're pretty excited to have received a contract on that property. The other 2 are Brentnell Elementary School and Indianola Elementary School, both of which our tenant, who is a charter school, is purchasing the properties. You had the number pretty close. The total that we will receive in from the purchase price is $2,260,000. These 3 contracts have all been structured so that there are no contingencies in the contracts, and we will be closing within 30 days of tonight. So I guess Dr. Klein said that math means money, but real estate sometimes means money too. So I'm pretty excited. And then we are working actively on the marketing of the remaining 8 properties. The charter school period, which is required by law for all of the remaining properties, will end about mid-April. And our next step then is to put them up for public auction. And we will be setting those dates on a case-by-case basis depending on the property, how we can actually get buyers to those auctions to try to be successful at the auction stage. All the proceeds go into the sale of buildings funds, and I think that that is where Alex and Maurice might take over.
So those funds, as Ann stated, goes into the sale of building funds. Traditionally, those funds have been used for qualified projects. We utilize those funds to help upkeep, if you will, like capital projects for our building projects. For example, when we move schools, such as moving out, we may utilize those funds to do building capital projects. So we help to offset those funds from that perspective.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lanzotti. Ms. Gibbs?
Yes, just a question to that point. So when you talk about encumbered and non-encumbered funds, we can use those for capital projects. Can they be used, for example, if we were to build a new building and it wasn't covered under the facilities match, but they wanted an extra theater, for example, or something that wouldn't normally be covered? Could those funds go towards enhancing? Yeah, I just really wanted to see Alex, but could those funds, Mr. Trevino, go toward some of those unfunded or LFI, locally funded initiatives, to tack onto a part of a new building project? Yes or no, and why not? That's always a question we get.
President Baker, to Board Member Gibbs, I think that's an easy answer, and the answer is yes. I think we could consider rolling those funds into a facility master plan project that has co-funding from the state. It could certainly be used for any other local funded initiative that we had that we wanted to achieve as a district.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board Member Hudson?
Thank you. I appreciate Board Member Gibbs' question. I kind of had in mind that we still have a sizable deficit of deferred maintenance that was not funded in the bond measure, and wondered if I mean, I think that as we put together the capital budget, et cetera, I think we got to make sure that we were also keeping our focus on reducing that deficit as well. It isn't so much a question, it's a statement. So, and it also could fund other projects too. But I think that that deferred maintenance was deferred for years, and it costs more the longer we don't address it.
Thank you, Board Member Hudson. Board Member Gibbs, would you yield to Board Member Peretti?
I yield.
Mr. Peretti?
Thank you very much. This is just more of a comment, more than anything else. It's just very pleasing to see us continue pushing forward. You know, we put a lot of work into this in our facility master plan update, and this is just, the district going through that exercise continuously. Again, I bring it up as many times as I can. We're going to have a lot of questions regarding these sort of issues. And I just look forward to us creating that apparatus again with that committee so we can start doing that work in a lot of different areas. We have innovation and reform, looking at a lot of things when it comes to our facilities and our programmatic uses, as well as, which I was going to say for announcements, the Finance Committee looking at a facilities operating budget and what it costs for those buildings. All these pieces, help us sort of plot out sort of a plan, a blueprint to move into the future. And it's very important to me that we keep focused on this, that as a board and as a district collaboratively, the board and our administration, that we move forward to resurrecting our facility master plan committee so we can bring all these other efforts back to the table, as well as continue to have these conversations with the public about what the future is for our buildings. I think it's a process that's going to take more than 1 year, and I think that we need to start putting that work together as soon as possible.
Thank you, Board Member Preddy. Board Member Gibbs?
Yeah, thank you. So I guess I'll make a statement as well, and it's to the fact of we always want to keep our community educated about the options, and whenever we sell facilities, we have people who want to know where the money goes and what it can be used for. So thank you, Mr. Torino, for always stating the facts and allowing us to understand, no matter what our priorities, what is enabling and what is not, and what we can use for and what is not. And under the leadership of NSDP and all of the work that they do to move the facilities plan along, but it's simply you can't buy a swim pool tomorrow, or you can't use it for your soccer team, and people don't, when we sell it and we have revenue, it's always good to know what we can and cannot use it for, and that was the purpose for the clarification. I'm very happy that you're moving it off our books, especially Clearfield, because that has been hanging around for quite a while, and that we know when we have closed buildings in communities, that it provides, just kind of a dark door for some of those areas. So anytime we can have those facilities in use, and as long as we don't still need it, I think it's a very prudent and financially responsible thing for us to do as a board. So thank you for your work in that area.
Any other questions from yes, Board Member Hudson?
Thank you, President Baker. It's on a similar facility but different issue. I was really, really excited to hear about the air conditioning discoveries. And I just point out more colleagues and others, I think, as we kind of go think about the next phase of FMP with high school decisions and others, that I think that really opens up that what are our other opportunities with existing facilities as opposed to rebuilding, that it may be that reuse is also an option that we didn't think was on the table but could be on the table. And that's an exciting development that we could get more immediate relief for students as opposed to waiting maybe many, many more years.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda? Mr. Preddy?
Just real quick, I just wanted to thank the Clinton Elementary PTA for the $15,000 donation that they will be buying a cart and 30 units of Chromebooks. And just thank you very much for their hard work and dedication to our community. It's invaluable. That's
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, Mr. Treasurer? I beg your pardon. Board Member Gibbs?
One more question. On this Operation Fix It on the Roof for Beechcroft High School, does that fall under warm, safe, and dry for the roof, or would it prevent them from making any other, I guess the question, since they brought it up, when we repair this roofing project, does that set the, never mind. I retract my question. Never mind. Your look answered it. Thank you.
Mr. Treasurer?
Thank you.
Mr. Treasurer, you may call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Preddy?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
And President Baker?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Vice President? Oh, yes, Mr. Superintendent, please.
Thank you, President Baker, Vice President Cole, members of the board. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the first of our new principals to Columbus City Schools, filling anticipated vacancies that will occur generally due to retirements and some changes in assignment at the end of the year. What a joy it was to have so many highly qualified, interested individuals come to us. We're always happy to seek them out too, but these were two we didn't need to seek out. They sought us. And so this evening, we're welcoming home someone who began their career here, I believe, was at Brookhaven for a while, was also at Fort Hays, has been the assistant principal at Thomas Worthington High School for the past 7 or 8 years, I believe, and came in and wowed the interview teams as a potential elementary principal. Please welcome home Gino Smith. Gino, would you please stand? So you can go, but you always come back. So he'll be going to Gables Elementary. And then the other came from, where Gino came from, kind of due north. This one came from the far northeast up in Northridge, where he served as the Northridge Intermediate Principal. He still looks like a Marine because he was a Marine. And he's interviewed and been selected to be the successor principal to Northtown Elementary School. Please welcome Jason Brass. Now, Jason. And those are just the two we're ready to introduce tonight, but we have others in store. So,
thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, and welcome to both of you. Welcome back, Gene. All right, now, board members, have you any brief announcements you might like to share with your colleagues this evening? Any points of pride? Mr. Peretti?
Well, you're obviously highly qualified individuals if you're willing to stick through this whole board meeting. So I thank you very much. Real quick, though, Finance Committee will be meeting next week. We will be going over our March monthly financials, as well as our beginning conversation about the 5-year forecast. And just as a preview, in May, if everything comes together, we will start to be looking at our facilities operating budget. And again, that's just another piece for us and another tool for us as we move forward in exploring the options and needs we have for our facilities. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Peretti.
Thank you.
Ms. Gibbs?
Again, we'd like to invite anyone to join us for the next Innovation and Reform Committee meeting, which will be held next Tuesday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Columbus Downtown High School. And just like our guest earlier today, submitted an online recommendation for a reform in our policies around restorative justice. The entire community is invited to submit ideas on innovative programs, any reform, things you think we could do better, austerity programs, things for us to consider that would help move our district forward. So please visit us both online and or in person.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Any other announcements? Hearing none. I'm going to call on the Vice President to offer a motion.
Thank you. I just closed up my computer. It is recommended that the board recess into executive session for Section 121.22 G1 Ohio Revised Code to consider the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson? Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. The board will now recess into executive session. We will adjourn out of that meeting without returning to these chambers. Have a good evening.